C. Okay. So row 2 isn't changing. I'm going to go ahead 0.15. Okay, we're solving a system of equations with Gauss Jordan elimination. There it was. It's problem 11, or this is like your number 11 in the homework. Now yours will have different numbers. Get the 1, 0 out the column. Then we move to the next column. Get the 1, 0 out the column. So we got the 1 by dividing through by -3. Now we're getting the zeros. -2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. -2 times 1 is -2, plus 2 is 0. -2 times 1 is -2, plus 1. Is this going to be a green -1 right there? If you're following, what's going to be the last number in that row? -2 times 5 is -10, plus 8, -2 is right. Now, getting a 0 down here. Right there. -2 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is 0. -2 times 1 is -2, plus 2 is 0. -2 times 1 is -4. Excuse me. -2 times 1 is -2, plus 6 is 4. -2 times 5 is -10, plus 22 is 12. 20 short years, we'll be finished. Okay. Let me see. Now, we are finished with the second column, aren't we? So we move to the third column. Where should there be a 1? The only place there's not a 1, the last one. That 4 should be a 1. And then we need zeros above it. So let's get the 1 first. What could I do? Oh, I heard it. So what can I do to get a 1? Multiply by 1/4. If you want to think of it as row 3 divided by 4, or the way I like to write it, 1/4 row 3 yields a new row 3. Ooh. So, hey, you know what? I have room to do one more of these on this sheet of paper. So row 1 and 2 stay the same right now. Zero, 1, 1, 5. So I'm dividing row 3 by 4. Some of y'all might be ahead of me. I'd have a 0, then another 0, 1, and what is that? 3? If the problem had just said find the solution for z, could someone tell me the solution to z right now? Write this as an equation here. It'd be 0x, 0y, 1z equals 3. Okay? So we have a solution for z if that's all we needed. But get the zeros here and here. And sometimes students, oh, well, I'm just going to add this and that to get a 0. No. If you do that, you're going to wind up, notice it, once I got finished with this first column, the 1 here and zeros everywhere else, it never changed. If you wind up, you decide, okay, I'm going to add row 1 and row 2 together to get a 0 here, or to get a 0 there, you're going to change some of these other numbers. Don't do that. The only way you get zeros is with the leading 1. In this case, the leading 1 in that column is right there. So to get a 0, let's do first for the green. Let's first do the green 1. negative 1.
Row 3 plus row 1.
Okay, just row 3 plus row 1 gives a new row 1. Did y'all hear that? If you just multiplied row 3 by a positive 1, just adding row 3 and row 1. Now, what about the second row? To get a 0 here, what am I going to have to multiply row 3 by? Negative 1. And say plus row 2 equals row 2. You know what? I'm going to write this right here. A positive 1, trying to emphasize that what I'm doing is changing this number here. Okay? Just like right here, I changed the sign on the black 1, got a negative 1. So we're almost through. I'll draw my matrices. Row 3 isn't changing. 0, 0, 1, 3. Let's see. 1 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 1 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is 0. What's the next number I'm going to write? 1 times 1 is 1, minus 1 is, this is 0 here. So that's what we wanted. And 1 times 3 is 3, minus 2 is a 1. Now for the last row. So at this point, what's the solution for x? 1. What's the solution for z? 3. To get the solution for y now. Negative 1 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is 0. Negative 1 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Here it goes. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1, plus 1 is 0. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3, plus 5 is 2. So our solution, if I want to write it like this as an ordered triple, if we want to write out x equals, y equals, z equals, our solution, x would be a green 1, y is the black 2, z is the black 3. I mean the red 3. But I'm writing it all in black. Okay. Well, before you start panicking, let me assure you, things could be worse. They can always get worse. Any of you ever watching this video, history, life teaches us things can always be worse. Okay, that's the lesson you can get out of this. When you're doing your number 11, there might not, this first number, imagine if it had been a 7. How would you have gotten the 1 right there if you had a 7 there? Well, you would divide by 7, and what would happen?
You get a lot of decimals.
You're going to get a lot of fractions. It's going to be a really messy thing. More than likely, on your number 11, I had to regenerate a dozen times to get something that didn't give me a lot of fractions. On number 11, your number 11, it's probably going to wind up with a lot of fractions. The important thing is to follow this thought process. It's not to go through killing yourself following those fractions, because we're going to see a nice little way of doing these. But like, I have a few problems in the homework that sort of give you a hint of how this might be on a test, because on a test you're not going to have to go through all of the steps here, okay? If we look at problem number, we've done 6. Let's look at number 7. This is going to be the pep talk, okay? Let's look at number 7. You know, see that? It says, recognize the elementary row operation used and determine the missing entry. Well, sometimes they don't write the little vertical line, and if that bothers you, draw it, but hopefully it doesn't. Like, okay, if you were going to do this with the Gauss Jordan elimination, the first number you would need to get is what, a 1 or a 0? How do you get started? You get started with a 1. Where does that 1 need to be? Where that 3 is. How could you, don't look at this part right here yet. Okay? What do you need to do to get a 1 where that 3 is? Yeah, multiply row 1 by 1/3. That's the operation going from here to here. They're taking row 1 and dividing by 3 or multiplying it by 1/3. Whatever you want to call it. So if you went through dividing by 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1. The last number, 5 divided by 3 is 5/3. What should go right here? Negative 4/3. Did y'all hear that? Negative 4/3. Y'all see where I'm getting the negative 4/3. You've got to recognize what's that operation that you're doing there. You look not here, look at this, and ask yourself, okay, what's the first thing I would do? I need a 1 right there. Okay? So how do you get the 1? You divide by 3. So that's what it's doing. To get that 1, it's dividing by 3. This is a very typical test question. Now, number 8, sort of similar to this. I think there's 4 problems like 7 and 8 in the homework. I'm going to cover up this one right here. Okay, so we have this matrix. There's a 1 right up here. What's the next thing we should do? Do we get another 1 or do we need a 0? Oh, I'm going too fast. I'm sorry.